Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadhyaptadehaaya Dakshinamurtaye namaha Gukarastvandhakaro vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara nirodhitvat Gururitya vidhiyate Sadashiva samarambham Shankaracharya madhyamam Asmadacharya paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Apyayantu mam angani Vakpranaschakshuhu Shrotramatho Balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu Tadatmani Nirteya Upanishatsu Dharma Te mai santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let's chant the first 4 verses of the second chapter of the Kena Upanishad. Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya deveshu atanu mimamsyameva te manye viditam. Naham manye suvedeti no na vedeti vedacha no nas tadveda no na vedeti vedacha yasya matam tasya matam yasya na veda saha avijñātam vijānatam vijñātam avijānitam pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate Atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate mritam. Okay. So let us pick up the thread from where we were proceeding 2 weeks ago on August the 31st. So this section of Kena Upanishad, when unfolded properly, is really gives us a very great insight into how this journey towards ultimate freedom, which is the hallmark of Vedantic study, is done. And so here I found that in just revising this book, which I had mentioned to you last week, which is called Anubhuti Prakasha, written by Swami Vidyaranya, and again commented with Hindi translation by Swami Maheshananji, is a great aid. I find this combination of the Shankara Bhashya and also the additional commentary by Sri Vidyaranya really clarifies things very well. So I'm very happy to rediscover. I was really not getting into that for the first chapter, and I was just doing it on this Shankara Bhashya from this book, from the Gita Press book, Gorakhpur. But then I thought that I would, it just reminded me that there are commentaries on all the Upanishads in the Anubhuti Prakasha, which I had done a couple of times before. So I said, let me read it again. And when I did, I found it was extremely helpful to unfold the meanings of what Kena Upanishad is saying. And so much so that I think I shared that with you, that when we first studied Kena under Swami Dayanandji, I don't believe I studied Kena with Swami Chinmayananda. I don't believe so. Anyway, we did this very early in the course. So the Kena Upanishad was the first Upanishad, first or second Upanishad, Mundaka and Kena, at the PRC course. So very early on during the 2.5 years. And I also was not clear about this segment that we are studying. And it took me quite a while to kind of think about it. Pretty much like, just like the Shishya here, between the dialogue between the Guru and the Shishya. The Guru says that, are you sure you understand? And so basically it's saying, I'm not sure that you understand. In fact, I'm pretty sure you don't understand. And I could relate to it. But I think over the time it has become a little clearer. And I think the Anubhuti Prakasha is a very good exposition of the meanings of this. So I will summarize that for you. So because this one, I think one of the students, Chandra Dulam, had asked this question that I don't understand how I can not know when I think I know. You see, so that is a good question. And so, and I mentioned that to Chandra 2 weeks ago, that allow me to elaborate on it a little bit later, which I started doing it last week, and now I'm summarizing all this. So stay with the train of thought of this analysis. So, so here, this is the method which is used by the Shastra to make sure that we are clear about what we are seeking. Because the lack of clarity allows us to hang on with our doubts, and which does not produce the right results. So here an example that was presented by Swami Maheshanandji in some other book. I remember this about a year or two ago. I thought a beautiful example. So what he said was that suppose you are sitting out on, and I've given you this example, so this is a repetition, but in the context of this, I think I would like to repeat it. So imagine you are sitting outside in a porch, and you are sitting in a kind of like in a field. It's not a big, or it could be in a town also, but let's suppose that there is a big driveway and somebody is walking on the driveway from a distance. So at one time the distance is so much that you are not sure whether it's a human being or a dog. Could be that far away. There's something there. So you are not sure at all. Something has appeared, but you are not able to identify it. Okay, so this is one stage. The next stage is that as the person comes walking closer, you find that this is a human being, not an animal. So it's walking on two legs, it's straight, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that much you know. But you don't know whether it's a man or a woman. You're not sure yet. But then as the person comes closer by from the hair and perhaps the beard or something like this, you can now ascertain, oh, this is a man. This is a man coming. But who the man is, you are not able to ascertain yet. You're not able to ascertain. Now suppose the person comes towards you, and is perhaps interrupted by a phone call on the cell phone, while the clarity of who that person is has not yet happened. So the person was coming, and then he got a phone call. And as it usually happens, you get engaged in talking to someone, and you don't walk anymore, you stay there. So at that stage, you know that there is a man who is talking on the phone. You could even hear the phone from a distance, but you don't know who that is. So this is, in a way, is a mixture of knowledge and ignorance. So this is what is called doubtful knowledge. So the doubtful knowledge does not produce the results that you expect. So for example, this person is coming. The doubtful knowledge is that looks like a friendly person. It's coming towards me. There are not too many houses. Can you imagine this is being on outskirt of a suburb or even a village. So he's not threatening or anything. He's coming and he just got interrupted. And so I'll find out who that is when he comes a little closer. So you have no idea who the person is. So this is, you can say, is paroksha jnanam. Paroksha jnanam. Not exactly paroksha jnanam, because paroksha means outside the sight. So this is not outside the sight, but I think the proper thing would be to say is that it says uncertain knowledge. So there is some knowledge. There is some knowledge. You already ascertained that this is a person, not an animal. You've already ascertained this is a man, not a woman. You can see the clothes and so on and so forth, but you're not able to identify the face yet. So as a result of that, you do not have a positive identification of who the person is. And the result of the positive identification are not there for you. Okay, so these are the stages. Then the person comes close enough for you to say, oh my goodness, this is my friend John. Oh my God, what is he doing here? That's right. He had written to me saying that he was going to stop by if I'm home. He would still have a lunch with me, and he could not tell when he would come. And so he got dropped off by a bus or something, and he was now walking. And this is an old friend of mine, which I've known for a long time, and I'm very happy to see him. So this result, the result is happiness, excitement that there is a person who I have known for a long time is coming to visit me, is not possible until you have a definite understanding of who that person is. This is what's called sakshat jnana, aparoksha jnana. This is what it is. We have all these words, aparoksha jnanam and so on, but we need to understand what it means. So this is what it means. Unless you have a positive identification, and if there were some doubts about it, the person might say, hi, you remember me? I'm John. So you say, how can I forget you? Your voice confirms it, but I could tell that's who you were. Come. This is a positive identification. Okay. So now, in the journey towards a clear understanding of myself, which is a very strange thing, because we can talk about something which is away from me, and I don't have clarity about the person until the person comes close to me, as this example shows. But how can I have this towards myself, who I already am? But it's possible. It's possible There are, in fact, I think I could say this. In the 10th man example, which you all know, I won't repeat it, there is a lot that I know about myself. Just like, you saw this person who you know a lot about that person, that he's a human being, he's a man with a beard, and well clothed. All of that you know. There's one thing that you didn't understand, that this is John. So similarly, in the 10th man example, which is a very important example, because in that example, the result of the lack of vagueness, the result of putting all the pieces together are shown. It is possible for yourself. Not necessary that you have a doubt about something which is away from you. About yourself, the same thing can happen. That is why that example is just unparalleled. 10th man example, the Dashamoham. So in that example, there is a lot that the person knows about himself. That my name is such and such, I am 18 years old, I'm the son of such and such person, I am studying with this guru, there's a lot. But there is one thing that he doesn't know, that I am the 10th person that I am seeking. That's it. There is vagueness about that. For whatever reason, some confusion and so on and so forth, that is unnecessary to go into. But the point is that the clear sakshat identification was not there. And as a result of that, as opposed to just a general vagueness about who the person is, because there might even be some concern. How come I'm living in an isolated area and who is this person coming to me? It doesn't appear to be very threatening or anything, but still I have some doubts. Why is he coming to me? So there is some concern. In the case of the 10th man, there is a lot of problems, because to lose a person that you are responsible for, the guru had told me that please don't let anybody swim in this swift river that you don't trust, and I want you to be very responsible. And so the conclusion that somebody has really drowned is not an ordinary concern. This is absolutely, and exactly like that credit card example that I gave, losing a credit card is a major issue. I mean, not like a life or death or anything, but it takes several days away from you. A lot of concern. And for those of you, I mean, I sure have, and I'm sure some of you have that had identity theft. This can be a major issue, that concern. So similarly here also, what I'm saying is that the Sakshat Jnanam clears away a lot of doubts. And until the Sakshat Jnanam is there, then the doubtful knowledge does not give you the results that you want. You want freedom in life. You are told by Vedanta that you are asangaha. You are not affected by it all. Just like the space is never affected by any pollution, you also as an Atma is never affected. You are the same person that has been around from beginningless time. And you keep getting new lives and new identities and so on. And even after this life goes, you'll still be the same person. That's who you are. But that is not clearly known to me. Not known to me because of lack of inquiry. So this is why in the Brahma Sutra it says, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. So I think in the next class I will talk a little bit more about this on this topic. So if you're going to that class, please wait. It's an interesting way of looking at of jigyasa. But here, so what I'm saying is that the unfoldment of knowledge in the Kena Upanishad and the hiccup. There is a hiccup here, hiccup of a doubt. See, because the first chapter was Shravanam. That listen, it is Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manaha, etc., Yat Chakshusha, etc. Then the second chapter begins with a hiccup, where the teacher is very reasonably suspicious that this person has come to a wrong conclusion about himself. And I need to correct that. So he says, Yadi manyase suveda iti dabrameva api nunam tvam vedha. If you think you know something very well, you don't know very well. You don't. Brahmano rupam, the swarupa. Rupam here doesn't mean a form, but the very nature here it means swarupam of the Brahma is you don't know that. By the way, I was just going to mention that I wanted to see just this last couple of hours where I had left off in the last class, because it was 2 weeks ago and I wanted to remind myself. I was listening to the YouTube, and Sri Balamani was right that the sound there was very faint. I was sort of leaning back and just making some observations and so on. And even I had a hard time really listening. So I left a message for Raj saying, is there something that we can do? So Raj said we'll look into that. In the meantime, there's a couple of things that I think we should do. One is that I'm also speaking a little more loudly and make sure that I don't lapse into a soliloquy that is unhearable. The other thing is that if you do have some problems in hearing, you may want to try headphones. This was Raj's suggestion and I agree with that. And so you may want to do that, but I'll look into that and hopefully that we will not have this problem, because it was not very good. The last 10 minutes of the last class was really unintelligible. I feel like I was mumbling. Anyway, I interrupted myself on that. So here the Brahmana Rupa means Brahmana Swarupa. He says then you don't know Nirguna Nirakara Rupam of Brahman. I don't think you know. Why do I doubt it? First of all, you have not been studying that with me for that long. And I know the students. And not everybody is a Ramana Maharshi. And number one. Number two, how quickly you said, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. Means that you have come to the wrong conclusion. You have not really understood it. And so, you need to do mimamsa. You need to think about it somewhat. And so, mananam. And please go and think about it and let me know. And then, of course, this is some words, and I will explain this more. But there must have been more explanation from the teacher also. Why I think you don't know. It doesn't matter what the exact nature is, but it's not as though, okay, I think you don't get it, please go figure it out and let me know. It's not that. You are helping the person. Still, the teacher felt that the student really is not yet clear about it, and therefore, the Sakshat Jnanam has not happened, and therefore the results of the Sakshat Jnanam will not be attainable by this person. He's concerned about it. So the teacher really is, if you don't, I find some of you are asking some easy questions that you should know the answers to by now. It pains me that you have not yet figured out, and I'm willing to help you to a certain extent. And so I feel that, and so the same thing here. So anyway, so that's what this is what this exercise. This is why the hiccup and the real statement of the clarity is being given here, and we will now proceed further. It's not yet clear exactly what I mean. So here's what it is. And so this is an important thing for us to really see. Very, very, very key. And I think all the Vedantic teachers go through this exercise. I remember Swami Dayanand also used to say that when he started studying with Swami Chinmayanand, for whatever reason, this is not a criticism of the teacher, but it's just that with that teacher's teaching, somehow the clarity had not yet happened. And it is very well known from the history of the teaching by Swami Chinmayanand to Swami Dayanand that he was a little frustrated. He used to overemphasize meditation. And Swamiji actually was, Swami Dayanand was actually keeping vigil during the night, doing meditation, forcing himself. So exactly like doing upasana. You see, so that just like this one on this, he says, in the first chapter, all the verses. So he says, Yat pranena praniti yena pranav praniyate tadeva brahmatvam viddhi na idam yadidam upasate. This upasana and meditation is not going to, I'm sorry. And this is exactly what happened to Swami Dayanand. He was really getting more and more frustrated because he thought that he would meditate more and more because he thought that he had already understood what was going on. He had not yet understood. He related these things to us very openly. And I won't go into a lot of other details about this. So actually, what happened was that he left Swami Chinmayanand and he went to study with a person in Vijayawada, in Andhra Pradesh. And his name was Swami Pranavananda. And it is at that point that Swami Pranavananda clarified for him that this is a question of Shabda Pramanam, not a question of meditation. Meditation comes much later, Nididhyasana much, much later. First, you have to really understand what is going on. And if you haven't understood, then you stay with that first. You exercise that pramanam. Anyway, I don't know all the details of what their discussion was, but anyway, he was convinced about that. And then really all of a sudden the light bulb came on. And then Swami Pranavananda said that in order to fortify this is just an introduction. I've just given you a glimpse of it. But what you need to do is to now study the Shastra in depth with a very well-renowned teacher. And again, I don't know the dialogue, how it happened. So Swami Dayanand, I must have asked him, do you know somebody that I can study with? And he said, I think I do. His name is Swami Taranandji. He lives in Rishikesh, so you kindly go and study with him, which Swami Dayanandji did. And so all the study of the Upanishads and Bhashya and the Prakarana Granthas and so on went on for years with Swami Taranandji. So with Swami Paramananda, he was not there for very long. And this is where he fortified his knowledge. And then Swami Chinmayanandji requested him to come back and become a teacher in the Sandipani near Bombay, which he did. And he conducted several courses along with Swami Chinmayanandji. And then later on, when in the time of PRC, they split up for lots of other reasons. And so then he formed his own organization. And so that's how it happened. But the point is that he did not have Sakshat Jnanam in the beginning. He also knocked around quite a bit. And so all of us go through the same thing. So even in my case also, I am not sure that I had the Sakshat Jnanam completely with Swami Dayanandji. I did quite to a large extent, but there were still a lot of doubts. It wasn't until I really started the texts of Swami Maheshanandji that things started to fall into place. You know, I'm still going into that process. It's not that I'm done yet. But I'm much more clear about the whole thing. So this sort of a hiccup is there all over. So what I wanted to say, which I haven't finished doing that, was that most of the teachers feel that it took me a long time to figure this out, and I would like to focus on this so that I can help my students so they don't have to knock around for as much as I did. And I have the same issue. So really this is why I took up Kena Upanishad, because there's some insights that I wish I had had before. No knock on Swami Dayanandji. I'm sure that he tried to explain it to me, but I was not ready. As much more ready than I am now. Anyway, so I just want to mention that to you. So now listen carefully about how this unfoldment, how you get over this hiccup. So some of it we have already talked about, and now I will put it in a simpler language so that you can grasp it. So this is an answer to the question by a student. How is it that we know something and we are told, no, you don't know? How is that possible? This is how it is possible. So one is that my knowledge is not yet clear. It is tinged with doubts. And if I think it is very clear, when in fact it is not, that's even worse. You see? Like you can see that, because suppose you feel, I'm not very sure about it, so I'm going to study more, study harder, which is good. But supposing you come to a conclusion that, I think I figured it all out, I don't need to do anything more. When in fact you have not reached the destination, then you are in worse shape because you're not trying anymore. And you are complacent, what's they call, smug as a bug. And you say, I think I've... And there were moments in my life where I felt that way. I said, I think I got it, when I had not gotten it yet. Why is it that I had not gotten it? This is why we were exploring. So there, and this is really treated in great detail under this Anubhuti Prakasha by Swami Vidyaranyaji. Marvelous. The more you study it, I remember, even then and even now, recently when I was revising it, my head said, yes, this is exactly right. Absolutely. Now I'm clear about it. So, what he's saying is, that when you say I know, your conclusion is consistent with how you know things. It's like somebody, I think I went over this example last time also. If you say that somebody asks you, do you know English? And you know English very well, and you rattled off, and then the person says, no, you don't. That doesn't happen in the case of knowing some language or some skill or something, because either you know it or you don't. So it's very clear. Okay? But here's the thing. The knowing of the Atma is different. It is different because it is not like knowing any other thing. And furthermore, even worse than that, it is like wrongly concluding that I, as a jiva and an ahankara, have figured it out. So watch these words carefully. I have figured it out. How did you figure it out? Through my listening and my mind and study and so on. I know I am. Who knows? Me, the jiva, the I thought, the ahankara. This person. Me, I know. I have figured it out. And so the Guru feels, no, you haven't. Why is that? Because we went through one reason, that if you know something with the help of certain instruments, and here the instruments are the sense organs presided by the most sophisticated sense organ, which is your mind. The mind is also the most superior sense organ because it integrates all the other sense organs and makes a conclusion which is reasonable. So it's also an instrument. So if your conclusion is aided by the help of these instruments, from that reason alone we can say you don't know. Because all the instruments at your disposal are meant to see things. Like a flashlight is meant to see dark spots, but it cannot see the batteries that are allowing the flashlight to see the objects. It cannot do that. If for some reason you feel, yes, I can see that, you cannot. So again, this is not completely an accurate picture. It's not a complete picture. This will become clearer when we go to verse number 4. But again, here's the thing. This is what is called in Sanskritam, in the explanation of Swami Vidyaranya's Anubhuti Prakasha, called Vishaya Bhanam. Vishaya Bhanam means object knowledge. So Vishaya Bhanam, we have different Vishaya Bhanams. This is a table, this is a book, this is a light, this is a microphone. All of these are called Vishaya Bhanam. And one of them is an introduction by some words that the Atma is the one behind all. It's like saying, the battery is the one behind all of your things. So that example is not completely applicable for a different reason. I'll go into that some other time. But so you feel, okay, now I understand. Yeah, this is what Atma is. It's behind everything. It's still vague. Still vague because the exact parameters of the Atma, how can it be behind everything? How is it behind everything? How has that happened? That Mimamsa has not been done yet. But you just accept it. You accept it is behind it. This is vagueness of the knowledge. Okay, so you say there's one of two things. The Atma cannot be definitively known as Vishayabhanam. All right, so you understand the logic of it and you say, okay, it's not a Vishaya Bhanam. So that means it is Vishaya Abhanam. That means it cannot be known. It is unknown. It can always be unknown. It is not always unknown. It is a third thing. It is neither well known nor unknown. It is something which is different, which is it doesn't need to be known. You need to understand that the Atma doesn't need to be known because it is self-existing, self-effulgent, Swayam Siddha, Swayam Bhuhu. Swayam Prabha. And if this is clear to you, then you know. So what happens is that and I went through this last week. I'm just picking up the thread on this. In last week, we said that as long as you know which is not the subject of doing anything, you are, and you know, you are the very nature of isness, satyam, very nature of knowing, jnanam, and always there, anantam, not requiring any instruments. You see, this is the key thing. If you know yourself without your mind, without your eyes being open or closed, then you know. But this takes a while. It can be done, but it takes a while. It requires a lot of mananam, lot of mimamsa. Why does it require so much? Because you are so used to seeing things as a pramata, as a human being. So you fall into the trap. And because you are not able to pursue this, you come to wrong conclusions. So then what to do? Okay, you're giving me all the problems, but what about the solutions? Here, then the verse 4 finally comes to our rescue. So let's spend some time discussing that. So let's see the one other thing I wanted to revise this in the view of this So in view of this explanation that we have done, and so after the first verse, he was told, Nunam Vetha. You are not very clear. Yadi manyase suvedet, suveda iti dabrameva api nunam tvam vetha brahmano rupam. You really don't have a very clear idea. So he says, Mimamsyam eva te. You really need to do some mimamsa, some mananam. So then he says, Manye viditam. This is just a shortened form. A lot of time has gone by, perhaps even years, like in my case. But finally somebody says, I think I understand. Manye viditam. And how he expresses Manye viditam is given in verse number 2. Naham manye suveda iti. No na veda iti vedacha. This is what he's saying. See, this is what I was explaining. I don't think like I know this as an object. Naham manye suveda. Suveda means sushtu veda. Very clearly. You can see table very clearly. Haste amalakam. So amalakam, berry in the hand, you can see very clearly. So naham manye suveda. It's not as though I can see it in my hand. Then no na veda iti vedacha. Neither do I think it is unknown. And now I know it is neither to be known, neither it is unknown, it is already known. That means his understanding was correct. So then the teacher smiled and said, relax, that's right, that's good. And he goes ahead and further explains this. Yasya amatam tasya matam. So it's the same, it's like a funny construction of all these words. Yasya amatam tasya matam. The one who doesn't know, knows. And one who knows, doesn't know. All this is just to explain this one simple phenomenon. That neither it is an object knowledge, nor is it an unknown thing. It is already there. If I see myself to be already there without requiring any instrument. So I think the key thing of this is that I need to understand myself as something who is just a second, I'm mixed up on this. I need to understand myself as Sarva Vyapaka. Sarva Vyapaka. If my drishti, if my knowledge, if my understanding, if my vision, drishti, is I am always there. Regardless of what is happening, I am there. Then I am getting closer to the truth. But if my drishti is, I am okay now, that means that conclusion that I'm okay now, nothing is troubling me, I'm okay, is based on certain reasoning capacity, which is false. You are not okay now, your swarupa is okayness. This is what I need to understand. And so if I keep on if if I don't keep on going until that is clear to me, I don't have sakshat knowledge. And how do I obtain that sakshat knowledge is now being presented in the fourth verse. So let's go into the fourth verse. Fourth verse says, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. Let's just stop there for the time being. The second part is Atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. So we'll look at that separately. Just look at the first part first. Pratibodha viditam matam. Please understand these simple words and let them carve out a space in your heart. Pratibodhitam viditam matam. I can tell you this is this is a Mahavakya which is quoted very, very often. Pratibodha viditam matam. So, Pratibodha viditam here, accurately translated by Swami Paramarthananda as Brahman, which is present in every cognition. Himatam, that alone is correctly known. If I know that the Atma is there in every cognition, every pratyaya, every vishaya bhavam, then I can never miss it. But what happens is that, yes, in the beginning I am told it is there everywhere and I accept it, but then in my behavior, I pretend as though, I behave as though it is not there. Atma, Brahman means it is never born and will never it is not possible to die. This is what the Atma is. But in my daily transactions, I disown that fact. It doesn't really mean much to me. Oh yes, I kind of understand that. Yes, sort of I do, but I don't use it. Because then I get upset with things, simple things, and I behave like a human being, not like the Devata that I should be. Because I cannot understand the Vyapti. I don't understand that I'm Vyaptam. Not Vyapti, but Vyaptam. Sampurna Vyaptam. Sarva Vyapakam. That I don't understand yet. And that is what I need to understand. So the question is, how do I understand it? I can see what needs to be done, but how? So that is given in the lingam, the hints for doing that is given in the verse 4, which is Pratibodha viditam matam. That how will you know it? You know it if you see that in all Vishaya Bhanam, in all object knowledge, it is possible that I am there. It's not possible for me to have Vishaya Bhanam until I see that Ishvara is the one that is making it possible unchangingly. Here I was reading a segment from Sri Rudra. This has a rich tapestry of different examples and so on. And I was reading this some time ago, and I made a note to myself that I will cite this in the context of what we are doing in verse number 4. Pratibodha viditam matam. This is the key to understanding the Atma. This is the key. So I will let me tell you how this came about. So I'm thinking that we will take up all these Rudram examples at some point. So I will do that systematically. But this one example, it struck me that I should explain this in the context of Pratibodha Viditam Matam. So let me now construct this example, and I will close the loop in 8:55, so then it should be done in the next 10-15 minutes, so it will be time to do so. So the context in the Rudram is that Swami Maheshananji is explaining that when you are doing puja, when you are doing yajna, either yourself or through a pujari at a temple, there are some things that you need to have as instruments, samagri. So you need to have water, you need to have fire, you need to have some havish to put into all those kinds of things we are familiar with, and I think we will look at the significance of the entire set of things some other time. It's a huge topic, beautifully presented. But the one thing that was very interesting here is they say that to do a puja to Bhagwan Shankar, Shiva, you need to put Rudraksha on the Vigraha. So supposing you have a Shiva Linga or you have a Murti of Dakshinamurti, Shiva, then you should put some Rudraksha on it. And the symbology of wearing the old Rudraksha to yourself is the similar. Because you should be a mirror image of what Shiva is. And so wearing a Rudraksha, a complete garland of Rudraksha or even a single Rudraksha is what the topic is. Okay? All right. So the question is, what is the meaning of Rudraksha? So, Rudraksha means Rudrasya Aksha. So Rudra is the name of Shiva. And the etymology of the word Rudra is one that is capable of removing all your problems. One who is fully capable. If you submit to Rudra, it has the power to drive away all your enemies. And ultimately, the most important enemy that we have is self-ignorance. Very powerful enemy. All the other enemies like desire, kama, krodha, and other things, these internal enemies, I need some power to take them away. But the most important enemy for me, which is keeping me from understanding myself and to own up my immortality, is self-ignorance. But the Rudra, with the help of Ishvara, I can do that. Nothing else works. I have to submit it to Ishvara. This is a very powerful enemy. And only Rudra, who created the enemy, can vanquish it. So this is called Rudra. So Aksha means Aksha means the eyes, but it is an upalakshana. It's an example of all the indriyas. So that's why they say the pancha akshaha. So panchamukha rudrakshaha. The panchamukha rudrakshaha means that you have all the five sense organs. So this is called rudrasya akshaha, rudrakshaha. So the usage of putting rudraksha on the Shiva is you now are aware of the power of the instruments which comes from Ishvara. Okay? So all the different rupa, rasa, gandha, shabda and sparsha, all these five knowledges are happening through the instruments, indriyas. This one you should know. So this is what is the rudraksha. Rudrasya indriyaha iti rudraksha. Okay? Now here is the key. What happens is that what is useful, you are making it useless. It is the same thing which is extremely useful. We turn in by not knowing how to use it. It is kind of like a knife. It's like a knife in the hands of a small baby. Because the small baby doesn't know how to hold the knife, how sharp it is, and it can injure itself. So similarly, I not knowing my various sense pursuits, not knowing that they are meant for understanding Rudra, they actually hide it from me. They hide it. How does it hide it from me? Because I should be understanding the ever-presence of my Atma, independent of any sense of limitations. I should understand that. And if I understand it, then I know how to use this knife properly. Because in the hands of an adult who knows how to handle the knife, it's a very useful instrument. Just this afternoon, my wife had brought some okra and some opu, and she brought a lot of these, and she got very busy this afternoon. And so this afternoon I finished looking at the lesson around, I think, 4:30. And I had a couple of hours that I was free. So I decided, let me help my wife out by cutting the vegetables. So I cut the ends of the okra out and then put them into pieces. Then I did the opu also. And there's a couple of other things that I have to do, but I ran out of time. And what I could feel was that these knives are not very sharp. I need to sharpen them. So I thought I would do my wife a favor before she comes back. And I started to sharpen a couple of knives. And indeed, they became a little sharper. Not all the way I want it to be, but for that I have to take it out to some farmer's market. Well, they'll charge money, but this will do. But I was careful in handling all the knives very carefully, and I did a good job of cutting all the vegetables and so on. So in the hands of a knowledgeable person, the knife is a very useful instrument. But the same thing is not, it's the same instrument, but you need to know how to use it. So Swami Maheshananji says, listen, we misuse our sense experiences, not sensual, but sense experiences. How do we misuse it? It is like a child that makes a mess of his own hand. Or even some guy put it in the mouth. My gosh, it's possible if some careless knife is left for a toddler. But it should not be done. And so you should learn how to use it. So here, now I can close off this important topic. So Swamiji says, like a child that misuses a knife, we misuse our sense experiences. How? I should really think about Parameshwara, Brahman as my own self. I should, because that is the truth and that's the one that's going to free me. But I get very involved with sense of. Right now I don't, I can't study. Why can't you study? Well, I'm hungry. I have to eat something. Okay, fine. Eat something. All right, after eating and so on, so then are you going to now study and think about this and so on? I will, but you know what? This election in California is going on. I have to look at the results. I have to turn the TV on. Okay, all right, fine. Look at the results then. You wasted another, once that takes you in. So that is, your eyes are now involved, ears are involved. So the whole day, this is exactly what happens. Paramatma is waiting for you to appreciate it. But you're so busy. You're just so busy. You have no time for Paramatma. You want to do it, I'll come around to it, but don't bug me right now. I'm very busy and it's not a bad life anyway. I'm happy with it. I'm watching 49ers and the Giants and sports, all kinds of things. And I need to call some friends and I haven't talked to them for a while. After that, I will look at Paramatma. This is a misuse of all the sense organs and the sense experiences in really not, they hide myself. They hide me from myself. That's what I wanted to say. They hide me from myself. Then what to do? Swamiji says, you know what to do? Pratibodha viditam matam. In fact, at every sense, you keep yourself busy. Because that's what our prarabdha karma is, that we have been born with the status of a human being with husbands and wives and children and so on. Yes, this is what life is. There's nothing wrong with that. But a wise person who uses knife carefully will do the following with respect to Pratibodha Viditam Matam. What? Every time you have a sense experience, whether you are eating or you're watching television, whatever, you think about how is that made possible by Ishvara. You look at the whole phenomena, enjoy it, but enjoy it even more by understanding my goodness. Nothing like this was possible unless my consciousness was allowing me to do this. I can blink my eyes. I can see left and right. I can see food going in. So I have to be cognizant of the presence of Brahman. And if I get into the habit of doing so, because for a while I won't have the habit. This is why I would just stop at the vagueness. And I will go back into my kartapan, as a karta, as a bhokta, as a jiva, as a ahankara. This is what my normal thing is. But if I grow up and turn the same experiences as a door to understanding, the ever-presence of Ishvara as myself, then I begin to have an intelligent use of my experiences. Your experiences, which used to hide you, now reveal you. Swami Maheshananji, he ended this with a beautiful example. He says, the same thing that can hurt you is the same thing that can help you. And we just have to understand that very well. He gave this example, of course, obviously the knife example is one. The other one is, if you look at the Mother Earth, if you are careless, you slip. And the bump of the Mother Earth breaks your bone. It hurts you. Because you were careless. You slipped. You didn't see. You should have done that, but you were not able to do it. So you had an accident. But the same Mother Earth helps you to get up, to be there for you as you go through the therapy. It is a solid piece. It doesn't give away. And so, if you don't go to that far, you fall with the help of the earth, and you get up with the help of the Mother Earth. It's all a matter of your own choice, your maturity, so on. So this is an important verse. Pratibodha viditam matam. He says that Atma is, we were talking about in the credit card example, that if you don't know where the credit card is, it is very far. But if you knew the hints of where the credit card is, if you could figure that out, it's very close to you. You may be sitting on a desk and it's right there under some papers, and you are now going all over. So similarly here also, you're saying, where is he? Where is Atma? Where is Atma? Where is Atma? But you should see, where is Atma not? At every experience, your Atma is there. You have to discover that in all of your sense experiences, in all of your pratyayas, all the Vishaya Bhavam. And if you do that, then your drishti, instead of becoming a samsarika drishti, becomes Adhyatmika Drishti, your own self. This is the process that we have to go through. And then the clarity comes. And then you can recognize, just like a person coming in from a distance says, oh, this is that what. Now if you keep on doing it, you will see, I'm always there. There's no point. How could I have missed it before? Because all experiences are possible through me. How can I miss it? It's a very pleasant experience. Experience behind all experiences. So this is a culmination of a section of Kena Upanishad. We can temporarily complete it. We'll revise it and go forward and so on. But this is a very important verse. Pratibodha viditam matam. Yes, Adi Shankara also says that this is the lingam. This is the dwaram. Lingam means, in the critical example, the lingam was, oh my goodness, I used it last night. This is the lingam. After that, the search becomes easy. Similarly here, the lingam is, don't you see that you are there in all your experiences? This is not an ordinary thing. The experiences may disappear, but you don't. At night, all the experiences disappear, but you are still there. When the experiences come back or they vary, you're still there. Pratibodha viditam matam. Amritatvam hi vindate. We'll continue with the rest of the fourth verse next time. Om asato ma satkamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnameva vashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Balaji, I'm happy that the audio was better. I also made it a bit more, make it into a point. So we'll work on that. Maitri, I am really planning to teach Rudram in much more depth. So there's a number of options that I'm looking at. So I don't know when and where, but I think this would be very useful. I think the insights that I have gained through the help of this book, really, this is the book, are worth really teaching. So I will do so. This kind of example that we took, there are hundreds of such beautiful examples to help us get there. So I'm thinking about it, and so very glad that you also feel the same way. So Shanti Kumar, I think that you don't need the additional thing about minimum pollution of prejudice. So, of course, yes, it would help if you minimize prejudice. But the interesting thing is that even if there is prejudice, if you remember Parameshwara at that time, because the Parameshwara is the one who created the prejudice. So this is what the whole idea of the Rudram is, that the enemies are also the creation of Rudram, and the ways to remove it is also the creation of Rudram. So this is a drama. So I would not spend a lot of time in cleaning up my mind. Of course we should, as much as possible. But a better way would be to admire the creation of Ishvara. In any way, remembering Ishvara at all time, the presence of Ishvara, will becomes more natural. In the beginning, we have to work at it. Where is Ishvara? Where is Ishvara? And so on. But then slowly it morphs into where is Ishvara not. The entire creation is nothing but Ishvara. Even the prejudice is Ishvara. Then an inner laughter comes. And you don't have to struggle against prejudice. It just goes by itself. So I just wanted to make that point on that. But anyway, very happy that many of you were there in the Zoom experience. I wanted to, Sulekha, I noticed that your name was not there when we had the Zoom sessions. And I think I know why. Because you never registered for any of the classes like you did before. And so when we sent the invitation to the Zoom classes, I was thinking about you and you were not there. Anyway, they are over now. And I'm very happy that at least I know you. Many of the other people don't. But please re-register for some of the classes, whichever class you are attending. So I was thinking of you, Sulekha. Hope you're doing well. Any other questions? So this Vedantic Insights class, I don't know about you, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm enjoying it for the following reason, that I'm not following any fixed format in elaborating on some insights. I'm bringing it from different texts and so on. And that gives me more freedom to build a certain vision behind it. And I'll continue to do that. I'm not even going to make any specific plans that we're going to do this, that, or the other. Let us see how it takes us. And I'm thinking that we will finish the Kena Upanishad so that you almost have a complete example of the Kena Upanishad before going on to something else. So this format of an independent Vedantic insight is something that I think I'm happy with. I just want to give you my viewpoints about that. And I hope you agree also. So, all right, if there's no other comments or questions, then I'll take your leave and hopefully we'll see you next week. Hari Om.